please check out Wrestling Travel. They're a great sponsor for us. They help us with so many different events, so many different traveling inquiries. They are the greatest. They have been seen at Starcade, Warrior Wrestling, you name it. Wrestling Travel is one of the premier traveling organizations for pro athletes such as ourselves.
Good afternoon. Welcome to what I can't describe as either wrestling or maybe not even boxing to some people, maybe not even MMA. I don't know where we are, but we've decided to go in the middle. So I'm from the wrestling side, of course, Powered4 SP3, and I'm joined by the man from Big Fight Weekly itself, Chris Hulme. How you doing, buddy? And welcome to the craziness of, yes, Floyd Mayweather versus Logan Paul happening in an exhibition boxing fight on Sunday.
It's still a bit unbelievable in a way, isn't it? Even though we're this close to it now, it still sort of scratches your head to think, like, this is really happening. This, you know, we're going to get to see this on Sunday. Strange, so strange.
Absolutely. I want to thank everybody for all their comments and questions. We will get to them. Don't you worry. We're going to spend a good chunk of time here just basically talking about this one fight. So I don't know how long we will go, but we will do our best to try and cover and give you all the information. Before we get going, I would just like to do a massive shout out to one of our biggest supporters on this show. I'm not gonna read out the comments because they're kind of very personal to this particular person, but he knows who we're talking about. Brett Thomas, a massive thank you for all the support you've given us since WrestleMania. I believe that's when you first found us out. And very, very sorry about the news that I'd read. My heart's out to you 100%. And, you know, at Powered4.tv, we're a family. We appreciate you coming on, Brett, regardless if it's Logan Paul, Jake Paul, or London's burning, whatever it is, mate. We answer it. We talk about it. So a massive shout out to you. And in many ways, this is for you, Brett. So this show was very much, I think you were the one that said, let's do it. So I thought, why not? And me and Chris got our heads together. We said, let's do this. So here we are, Chris. We're on Friday before, a couple of nights before the big fight itself, and we've seen all the craziness from the last month's press conference. I should have worn a hat, mate. I should have worn my cap. I was going to do something.
Taking it off you.
Yeah, Chris was going to nick it off me, and we were going to get into a tussle. Maybe that's what we'll have to do with Stu. With his cap, that'll be the big move there. But Chris, from your side point of view, and I've heard you guys on Big Fight Weekly. Obviously, we've been talking about it as well from the wrestling side, which probably means that whether we agree with it, we like it, we dislike it, it's something that's quite relevant. It's something that people are talking about, and I would imagine that the casual audience that doesn't necessarily watch boxing may just tune into this one. So there's good and bad with this. Where are you at in terms of, like, do you see this as a terrible, like, as a purist, do you see this as awful for the sport, or do you just see this as something completely different and it won't interfere with, the other side of things with boxing?
I think, I say I was a purist, but I think the more, as we were talking before, you go down that rabbit hole, you sort of really get invested in the whole situation. I think it goes two ways, doesn't it? Because you're always going to have people that are going to hate on it. The Shoeys of the world, doesn't like the white collar sort of element in the situation. I see it now, and the more I've researched and really looked into it, it's fresh eyes, isn't it? Meeting people who wouldn't normally watch boxing. I don't know how much Brett, because obviously Brett's a big believer of the Paul brothers, how much of boxing he would have normally ever watched. And this brings, new eyes to the table, doesn't it? How long they'll stay there for is a different question. But undoubtedly, it's some way good for boxing, because, you are getting millions upon millions of people watching it. And I think in some way it is good for the sport, but I can also get the frustration of the purists, who want to see pure boxing. They want the best fight the best. They don't want to see YouTubers, take over the globe. But, if this is the way we're heading, this is the way we're heading, and we have to embrace it.
Yeah, just been looking at the latest tweets from Logan Paul, because he's very active on Twitter and he's always got something to say. So I've just been seeing if there's any relevant news coming in. I'm sure there'll be more shenanigans over this weekend before the fight. The fact they've got that Saturday as an extra night, you can only imagine. What didn't surprise me, someone said this the other day to me. They was like, I'm surprised they didn't do some sort of reality TV around both of them, where, like, they've planted cameras up in this hotel and you just follow them around 24/7 to see what they get up to and all these, like, little storyline angles. I'm going to throw it at Chris. I'm going to be a little bit like, play devil's advocate here. And, I'm going to say, like, if, is it, I don't know. I just feel like Floyd Mayweather is not letting on as much as he probably should be, in terms of yesterday in this red carpet interview thing I was watching, which was very strange as well. Felt like an awards ceremony. But he's playing very naive. He's playing like, I've never watched Logan Paul. I've never watched the KSI fight. I don't need to. If I lose, it doesn't matter because it will never be on my record, etc., etc. But do you think that somewhere down the line, like, despite all this supposed hatred between each other, do you think that secretly they've kind of come up with this whole thing? Like, how can we draw more people? We got to do stuff. Do you think there's an element of that? Because it wouldn't be the first time boxing has tried that, a little bit of wrestling element, especially Floyd being a wrestling fan.
Well, you just got to look at his buy rates of his last fight, haven't you? And I think when I showed you we watched the True Geordie thing with Logan Paul, and he bought up, and I got it here, 400,000 sales in his last ever, official pro boxing fight. And this is before the Conor McGregor. I think people have probably sort of got bored of the whole Floyd Mayweather sort of era, maybe, if you want to put it that way. And I think he needs new dance partners. I think, it's quite open and out there. He's not very good with his money, is he? He just spend it like a kid in the candy shop. And he's getting drawn back into boxing for the likes of Conor McGregor. and Logan Paul. These are the people I think he can match, but make the most money out of it. Yeah, he could face Alvarez, Canelo, couldn't he? But I don't think at his age now that would work out quite well. He's not in his prime anymore. I think he needs these dance partners because I think these are the money makers. The Conor McGregor's, the Paul brothers, they're big celebrities, aren't they? In their own right. Conor McGregor obviously being a martial artist, but you know he's a big mouth. He's everywhere. Logan Paul, Jake Paul, especially Jake Paul, they're everywhere. And yeah, I think he needs this for the money because I don't think he's going to get the money if he fought an ordinary boxing fight. I think the buy rates are 400,000 in his last one. I think it would be either that or lower if it was an ordinary boxing fight per se. Like I say, I think he needs these people.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was quite astonished actually, going back on Floyd's buy rates and seeing only 400,000. That's quite surprising for a guy like Floyd Mayweather. So I think you're right. He needs dance partners to do these things. Again, I think he keeps reiterating he's retired. He's not like active boxer anymore. So this kind of stuff is something else. But I think to many boxing fans, they seem to think that no, he's still very much a boxer, in the now, and he's kind of taking us a lot away from it. Okay, let's get to some of the questions, Chris, and then I think what we'll do is we'll go on to some rules because people have been asking about that. What the hell's going to happen? Obviously, the stipulation: Jake Paul banned from ringside. How wrestling can you get than that? My goodness. But I'm going to hit him. So anyway, yesterday I believe Brett put this in the comments, and let's put it up on screen now. Here we got a nice. Look at that. I've made it purely for this fight in pink graphics here for this fight. There was incredible fear in Floyd's eyes. Well, I don't know how on earth you could see his eyes, Brett, but I tell you, you've got better eyes than me because I just saw them facing off. But apparently, according to Brett, Floyd is looking a bit scared. Chris, you've seen like a lot more Floyd Mayweather fights than I would have done. I've only seen a handful. I've seen like him and Conor. Him and Ricky Hatton and the Pacquiao fight, but I don't really know what mannerisms Floyd is like. I just know he's quite a crazy character who likes to be the heel. Do you see fear in Floyd's eyes? Is this something to suggest he's worried, or is he as relaxed as ever as any other fight?
I think he looked relaxed. I did think the stare down went on for too long. I don't know how you felt. Like it felt to me that they stood there staring at each other for like half an hour or something. No, I think it was just your typical stare down. They just stared at each other, but like I said, it just went on a bit too long. A couple of seconds and enough. But Logan Paul was saying things to him, wasn't he? But I couldn't work out. I was trying to sort of watch it again and see what he was actually saying, but because he was chewing chewing gum, I couldn't work out what he was saying to him.
He was probably saying, "Let's milk this for as much as we can, and then we'll go on and we'll do some sort of crazy antics." Rambo, big follower of the shows as well. What the hell was that red carpet about? Like we now get in a red carpet before a press conference. Yeah, I said that at the start of the show. I could not work out what yesterday was. I know that our good friend Brett said he's going to watch both shows because he didn't know what to watch. But I thought it was a press conference. It wasn't a press conference. It was two guys. I mean, Chris, it was very strange to watch it. Who were those guys? I don't know them by name, but they were from Showtime, weren't they?
I know Luke Thomas is mostly from his MMA days, and I think he still covers MMA. He was with MMAfighting.com, and they're quite good. I've listened to a lot of his podcasts. He's quite he's spot on the things he said. But I didn't get those Gucci dressing gowns, John. I was watching and
we should have got hands on.
I know we should have been invited to this party because it looked like to me like a Las Vegas party. Everyone seemed to be enjoying themselves, and I was just sort of like, this is just really odd, for a fight that's coming up in a couple of days. And they're all, there's a swimming pool with people in. There's people lying around by the swimming pool, people wearing Gucci. And I'm just, sort of scratch your head and go, what really is going on here? It's
Yeah, it's not
strange, awfully strange.
it's quite surreal. It's very surreal for a boxing event. But I guess they keep teeing it up with this exhibition thing. So it's like, is that how they're getting away with it? Long one here from Carnage Payne. What do you make of boxing on Sunday night? Kind of interesting. He mentioned WrestleMania. I feel as a wrestling fan, we have been wanting the pay-per-views to go on Saturdays, but would a Sundays work better? Well, from my point of view, again, it threw me and Chris off because I wasn't even aware it was on Sunday until I heard it from Floyd's own mouth, and he did mention WrestleMania, which was interesting as well. He said he was like awards events and the Super Bowl, they all happen on Sundays, so like boxing should as well. It was a strange kind of thing. Why have they gone to Sunday, Chris? Like, what is the thinking there? Because I can't really work out how that is an advantage over Saturday, but obviously they seem to think there is.
I don't know, because if you look at the early fight cards that are on this weekend, they blow it out the water no matter who's fighting. There's a UFC card on the weekend. I'm sure there's a boxing card on the weekend. But because this fight is so massive and so big at this very point in time, it would have blown it all out the water. I don't get the Sunday. I did read today that they don't expect them to walk to the ring till about 4 o'clock in the morning, our time. I'm just getting up for work at that point, so I'm a bit like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a late one, and a Sunday with people going to work on Monday. It's very strange. I'm not used to seeing boxing fights per se, to be honest. Sunday, it's obviously it's a Saturday. I get what he says about WrestleMania and pay-per-views from WWE and such, but they've always been a Sunday. It's something you're used to. You know what I mean? If it's always been on a Sunday, so this is a strange one. The Super Bowl he mentions that, but that's once a bloody year. So you know what I mean? They can put it wherever they want. They're still going to get millions upon millions of views. Yeah, I can't really answer the question of why, because they haven't really made it clear to me why they're picking the Sunday. But here we are.
Can you remember the last time that a boxing event was on a Sunday, like a big pay-per-view? I know that Eddie Hearner's done it because he was like, oh, it would be good after the football just to put boxing on. But they weren't pay-per-views. They were just like, I believe, just on Sky Sports. But is there another time where boxing, a big pay-per-view has happened on a Sunday, to your memory? Or is this a standalone?
I can't remember one off the top of my head. I know UFC have done a few cards on a Sunday, but they're not been major cards. It's always been a Saturday going into Sunday morning. I can't one off the top of my head. I can't think of a big one because usually they'd go the Saturdays. So it's a strange one to go a Sunday, but I'd still expect them to make and have a massive buy rate and millions of people watching it no matter what day it landed on, personally.
Mate, I am so intrigued to see what kind of buy rate this does. It's one of the big things that I'm like eager to find out, because a lot of people are saying they could have done better promotion. Like they haven't gone to the crazy lengths that Conor McGregor and he did. But on the other side of things, like Logan Paul's following is humongous. And if they're loyal and if they're anything like Brett, they're going to pay. I mean, they're going to pay double, 3 times over to watch this, so they got no worries, I would imagine, with that. So but I am intrigued to see what kind of number it does, because I think I've got to be honest, if this does massive numbers, and I'm sorry to say to poor old Stu, but I got a feeling that not only will Floyd Mayweather be looking at more of these, but I think other promoters might start taking a look at some YouTubers and thinking, hang on a minute, I'm going to line up, even if I could see, Chris, where I know that Eddie Hearner's knocked this one a bit, but I know he's also promoted KSI and Logan, which is, a little bit hypocritical. But I could see the likes of Frank Warren and all the rest of it getting more involved if they just had them on maybe the undercard, and they just put one of these YouTubers on the undercard just to get that big kind of oomph in the buy rate. But however, saying that, Chris, I'm sure the YouTuber would want to be the main event, so that's probably going to rule that one out, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say so. But while you mentioned about Logan Paul and KSI, I looked at both fights because the first fight was on YouTube, just for YouTube. You had to pay for it by YouTube, and obviously the second one was promoted by Matchbox, wasn't it? Hernan, and so the first fight they did, was it 1.3 million buy rates, and the second one was 1.2 million buy rates. That's the power of KSI and Logan Paul, and that's the power of YouTube. Their second
not
fight,
even professional boxers. My God.
they made more money and had more views than Joshua versus Andy Ruiz, the first fight, and the Canelo fight. I can't remember who fought, but they had more buy rates than both of those fights for their second one.
That is absolutely amazing. That's like a great. I'm glad you brought that up, Chris, because like that just really puts things into perspective here. When people say, "What is the drawing power of YouTubers?" You just said it there. Two non-professional, well, they were professional that night because they got their licenses, but two never fought. Yeah, their first fight. Like, tell me another boxer that's going to have their first pro fight and get that kind of money and that kind of buy rates in. Like, no one is going to be on that level. So that's unbelievable. But a very interesting insight there. Also, Brett replying, I think, to Brett. Carnage replying to Brett. Floyd isn't scared. He's working you and everyone else. I felt like he was lining up McGregor too. If I'm honest, if Jake beats Woodley, then I guess that's the other option. And he did mention McGregor quite a bit last night, which I thought was quite interesting. He brought up there's a kind of rivalry again, even though they kind of felt like they'd squashed it last time. I thought they were hugs and very respectful after the fight, but apparently I guess both the McGregor camp and Mayweather camp are thinking, hang on a minute, if we can get another match, there is problems between us. Of course there is. We've got to do another fight. What's more likely to take? Yeah, what's more likely to take place, Chris? A McGregor 2 fight, or do they just go straight to what everybody's predicting, Jake Paul?
This all depends on McGregor and Dustin Poirier when they fight in July, and it depends on if McGregor can beat Dustin or Dustin beats McGregor. I think if McGregor loses to Dustin, I think his half his foot's going to be in that ring with Floyd Mayweather. If he beats Dustin, I think he's going to want to obviously get that title again. So I can't see him at this point in time having a fight with Floyd. It all depends on the result of that fight. I think that if I'm being off the top of my head and I go off my head, I think Jake Paul at this very point in time is hotter than Conor McGregor. I think you can't find any source anywhere on the internet that doesn't mention Jake Paul's name. I think the best bet now it'd have to be Jake Paul versus Floyd Mayweather. I think it'd be an interesting fight because Jake Paul seems to want to box. I don't know about Logan Paul's sort of demeanor when it comes to boxing. Is this just for the money? Does he actually want to box? Jake Paul wants to box, and I think a fight would be more interesting because I feel that Jake Paul would come straight at Floyd Mayweather. So I think that fight makes more sense than Conor McGregor at the moment.
Yeah, no, I agree. He's the hot topic. Obviously, I put a clip up on Instagram earlier with Logan Paul's appearance at WrestleMania. Of course, he didn't make as amazing impact there. In fact, Brett Thomas believes that once he wins this fight and then goes on to MMA, that he's going to end up at WrestleMania main event next year. So I'll tell you what, Brett, if you are that confident, my friend, I would go down to my local bookies and say, what are the odds? Because you could be a very rich man, I would imagine, with that kind of stuff coming at you. But we'll see. Let's take another couple here before we go over the rules. Powered4, you guys must be crazy to pull this one out. And Sunday, I don't get that people surely will buy for Saturdays. What the hell is it with the rules and no winner? Yeah, we're going to get to that, honest beyond reasonable. Don't you worry. We will get to that. We will explain why that is the case. What else we got? Hi, Chris. Yeah, that's replying to you, I believe, earlier on the chats for the pay-per-views. Let me just scroll down, make sure we haven't missed anything else on here. Got quite a lot of comments today. Here he is, one of your followers, I believe, on Big Fight Weekly.
Yeah, Big
Ramel is here. Ramel, you always give really good statistics and predictions. I'd be very fascinated to see what you predict for this one, whether you can call it. I don't know anybody everyone is pretty much pro Floyd that I've heard. I don't think anyone boldly has come out and said Logan, apart from Brett Thomas. But apart from that, I have only heard. Have you heard any sort of ex-boxer, ex-professional boxer, or anybody within the industry, Chris, that's actually said Logan Paul is my favorite to win it? Not just a puncher's chance, but to actually go, he's going to win.
No, not one person ever mentioned Logan Paul's own camp. I haven't seen anybody come out and literally put their hands up. You know, maybe they might do it secretly, but obviously they would have had a bit of money on the side for this. But I haven't seen anyone come out and honestly say, "Yeah, I think Logan Paul's got a chance." I think everyone's Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I think it'd be very hard pressed to find it at the moment. We've got a prediction from Brett Thomas, though. This is an interesting one. So my prediction, and I know many will laugh, and I enjoy to have the banter with Stu and John. Logan Paul to win within 4 rounds and be a stoppage when he leans on Floyd and punches too many times. That's a very accurate, detailed prediction there, Brett, and I will remember that. I mean, you're more of an expert in this field than I am, Chris, so I don't know what he means by leaning as such, but I'm guessing he's talking about his sheer size in the fight. Tell us a little bit, just briefly, Chris, before we go into the rules and other questions. What is the size difference? How big a part is that? Because Conor McGregor was seen as much bigger than him at one time, but then you look at Logan Paul, it's ridiculous, isn't it?
I think it's like 6 inches, isn't it? I think he's
he's a big guy, Logan Paul. Like if you put him up against his brother, he's much taller.
But then again, though, if you looked at Miami when all the crap booted off, when he went face to face in the first one, he didn't look all that bigger than Mayweather, unless Mayweather was wearing some stilts.
I think he had the old boosters on, Chris. I think he had the boosters on his feet like he done with McGregor that time. I think that's what he did there. Yeah. And where's that hat?
His hair looks better, though. His hair looked better yesterday than it did the other week. You know what I mean? He looked like an absolute mess. But, you know, he looked all right. And like I said, so yesterday, has he not changed his clothes since the Miami conference? Because that the jacket and the pants, or the shorts, sorry, look exactly the same ones he wore the other week. Has he got no other clothes?
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely one for the fashion, isn't he, Floyd Mayweather, when he turns up in these things. Carnage Payne has a prediction: Floyd to win in 60 seconds. There you go. He's not holding back. No hope there. And our good friends from True Heel Heat Wrestling, everyone. Hope you enjoy the stream. I know John and Chris are going to smash it. Paul Mayweather will be one of the biggest buy rates of the year. I think you're probably not wrong there if it's what Chris is going on as well. I think that's a very good thing. And we got one of your buddies, Albert Barlow. Hey, John and UK Chris. There must be another Chris out there. Is there an American Chris?
No, it's what they when we do art party, that's what they call me. I'm just UK Chris.
UK Chris. Very good. And on cue, look, there's Ramel. It's gonna be Floyd, but he's going to make it a good match, not going to rush it. He's going to toy with him and make Paul look good. But I mean, again, it's very when you put it like that, it's very wrestling kind of move. Like make the other guy look good and then get out. Like so, both guys win. So it's a very interesting way. One thing I'll say before we go on to the rules here, Chris, is because I know people have been saying like they all think Floyd's going to make it a bit of a show. But he didn't seem to make it a bit of a show in Tokyo, did he? I mean, he was like in and out before anybody had probably sat down and started watching the fight. I mean, that guy he faced, he just literally took him apart in the first round. I mean, it was one knockdown, and I believe that they stopped it after. The other guy, I'd seen that guy. He was a very good kickboxer.
He
was crying.
He made him cry in the corner.
It was like a kid had been spoiled on Christmas and didn't get what he wanted. I don't know. God knows what Floyd thought of that. But I mean, I bet he made some serious dough for like a very quick fight. But again, it's what I'm trying to say in this point is that obviously Floyd isn't that worried about if it's not a big show and he gives you your money's worth, because in that instance in Tokyo, it was, very bland. If anything, it was ridiculous.
The lad he fought in Rise, because I think it was Rising that did the fight. The kid just looked out of his depth, and like you said, he was a very talented kickboxer. But when you're taking a kickboxer's legs away, it all falls into Floyd Mayweather's, his side of things, his set of skills. You know what I mean? It's like with Conor McGregor. You put them two in an actual fight, that Conor McGregor's kicking his head off immediately. But you take all their skill set away and have them just a pure striker. Floyd's going to win every time because Floyd is not if not the best counter striker in boxing history. You know, he is an icon. He is a goat. The lad in Rising when he lost, I felt really bad for him because, like you say, he just he didn't get what he wanted, and it was very quick, and it makes you wonder. Why was it that quick? Because he didn't put Conor McGregor away that quick. I know Conor McGregor punched himself out, and he played it. And I think it was Connage Payne said he worked Conor McGregor, and I think that's true. He did work Conor McGregor because he plays a dumb, stupid person when they're at press conferences. But when it gets down to the meat and bone of it, and they're actually in that ring, he knows his IQ's right up there, so he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm with you. I think he's got it. Guys, I am going to quickly play a quick advert, and then we are going to get to the rules. We're going to give some predictions, and then we're going to go to some what ifs, and we'll finish up with some comments towards the end. So, guys, get your questions in. We're just going to take a quick snippet preview of 1PW. So check this video out, and we'll be back straight after.
Takedown. Pair of elbows, both men miss. Miss with the leg sweep by Sterling, both men back up. Nice. Reyes. First defense on the 1PW title. I can't
We seem to have lost John. Or is he back? Yeah, there he is. John's back. He's trying to run away. No. John, you're silent, mate. We can't hear you, pal.
No, that's better. There we are. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, I accidentally pressed the wrong X button, and you can imagine my worry. But no, I'm back on. We've switched sides, Chris, so that'll throw people off as they're watching this not live in this one. So, let's get to the rules, Chris. What on earth are the rules? People don't understand quite why there's no winner involved. If you could just give us a little bit of background into that and as to why this is the case. And obviously, there are only 8 rounds.
Okay, so I'll run down the rules and then we'll break them down as we go. So there's no judge scoring at this contest. There's no official winner. The fight can't go on official records, but knockouts are allowed. The referee can stop the fight if and when needed. They're obviously wearing 12-ounce gloves. There's no headgear because obviously it's not an amateur fight. And obviously it's 8 3-minute rounds. Far as I know and for what I've read recently, the reason why there's no rules is 1, because it's an exhibition, and 2, it wasn't sanctioned by the Florida State Commission.
Well, there you go. Says it all, doesn't it?
They don't believe in it. Where you see Jake Paul's fighting under the right commissions, the commission's rulings. So they just don't see it. I think Conor McGregor's fight with him was similar in some capacity, but obviously there was official records when Conor McGregor lost and Floyd won. But theirs was classed as an exhibition fight as well, but they had more ruling than Logan Paul has against Floyd. So I don't know if this is a safety net for Floyd just in case the unthinkable happens. But
well, mate, he kept saying that yesterday, didn't he, in like those interviews, which I thought was a bit odd. Like, I thought, why would he keep saying that? Like, it's not going to affect his record whether he loses or not. It's almost like he was conceding to the idea that it could happen. which I thought was a bit strange, really. But then it might be mind games as well. Because don't forget, at the end of the day, Floyd's trying to sell this fight as much as Logan is. He's trying to get more people invested. So it's hard to tell sometimes what he really truly believes. But I did think that was interesting that, he was like, well, it doesn't matter. It's like when he turned up at WrestleMania and fought the Big Show. It's not on his record. Who cares? So
but he made a lot of money from it.
Yeah, exactly. And the referee, there's no sort of crazy antics here. Chris is there with the referees. I'm not going to suddenly see like a guy come out and on the tannoy he goes, and ladies and gentlemen, the special referee for the fight, Jake Paul, or something like that. We're not going to see any shenanigans like that, are we?
I honestly, God couldn't tell you. It could. You never know.
We got Chuck Liddell, a week later in this Aaron Carter fight. He's like, what is he, an enforcer or something? He's not even done boxing. So, maybe just bring him in. Unbelievable.
Don't forget, John, that's the biggest fight of the year. That's mad.
I think this is one that one is the one we save for Stu. I really do. I think he does a full preview. No, I hope you're well, Stu. Stu, you can't see it because you can't, but there you go. Look, I'm representing Stu's wrestling podcast. Just a big plug for him there, because you can't see it on the screen as we are. Also, just want to plug immediately following our show here today, go over to True Heel Heat as they have the Dark Side of the Ring review coming up straight after this. So those guys are on straight after. So go and check that out. It's a very dark story. I'll leave it at that. Talking about the father of Jake the Snake Roberts. Just going to take a couple of questions before we give our little predictions here. But we've got another part. Yeah, let's have a look. While making Paul looking good, Floyd is going to make a statement to have a rematch or a fight to Logan. It's all in the storytelling and planning. Yeah, I think you're right. I think Ramel is spot on with that. It's very old, classic storyline telling. Floyd was quick flip, but. Yeah, I've seen that fight as well, and I think you can see it on YouTube. I think there's clips of it out there. It was a very odd kind of thing. How was that? What was that pay-per-view? Was that Showtime as well, Chris?
I'd imagine Showtime would be in there somewhere because he doesn't go anywhere else without Showtime. He knows the money's with Showtime. But I know they partnered with Ryzen, didn't they, for that fight particularly. To be honest with you, though, if I don't know if you can cast your mind back that far, there wasn't much about this fight when it was happening. They sort of labelled it, MMA for Floyd, didn't they? Because obviously Ryzen's an MMA organisation and a kickboxing one. Yeah. And I didn't see much on it other than, he fought Tanzin and then demolished him, left the ring, left the kid crying, and moved on to Conor McGregor.
Went home.
Yeah.
I think I only heard about it after the fact. I don't think I saw any of the build-up, but I know that in Japan paid a bucket full of money to see it. So obviously that's all he cared about. And again, that marketplace is massive. I mean, it makes us look small in comparison. So if you can get in on that market, you're going to make even more money. So Floyd's obviously got his business mind set up on that one. Rambo saying odds ain't huge, and follows up with, you would have thought it would have be at least 20-1. Yeah, I mean, the odds have been not astonishing. I actually remember Conor McGregor odds being at one time, they were like 12-1. And yet we're talking Logan Paul. The last I saw of it today, he was 5-1. Which was a bit strange. I guess to put things in context, actually, I was watching a 30 for 30 on my Disney Plus. The only thing I use it for, I tell you, is these sports documentaries. But I was watching the Buster Douglas one, and he was like obviously famous because he had like crazy odds when it was Tyson, and God, if you'd put it down then. And obviously, you look at that compared to this, you think, hang on a minute. Like, if we're talking back in those days, Logan would be, 100 at least to 1. Why are the odds like this? Yeah.
I think maybe they know something we don't know. Because, when Conor fought Floyd the first time, there was genuine feelings that Conor McGregor could be the guy. Obviously, I don't think many people, if anybody, other than Brett, feels that Logan's the guy to beat Floyd Mayweather. I don't know. They're just very odd this time round. Like I say, it feels like they know something that we don't, and that's why they're not as good.
Yeah, that worries me a little bit when you see the bookies doing that, because they're quite smart with this stuff as well. They're not always ridiculous, and you think like, hang on a minute, do they know something we definitely don't? Are we going to see some kind of ridiculous ending to all this? Hello, Lewis. I hope you are well. Not one of the peoples that come in. Who else we got? We got Ramel back again. It's like when. For Crow Cop. What a name that is. My God, I'd forgot about that. Where is Crow Cop these days before I take this question?
Probably destroying someone's head with leg kicks everywhere, isn't he?
That guy, I mean, and I know his record wasn't. Yeah, he was. I really enjoyed watching him. I always remember he had a particular. He used to have the sort of Croatian flag on his shorts, didn't he? Like it was kind of part of his thing. I always used to like the look of him. But yeah, no winners, but knockouts are allowed. Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. Obviously, no judges, so it's not gonna. I mean, what happens is the likelihood here, as we talk about predictions, we're gonna see an entertaining. You hit me some, I'll hit you a little bit. You can have your 2 minutes of fame in maybe one round, but the rest I'm going to make you look ridiculous. We're going to get to the end of the 8 rounds, hug, you're the best, blah, blah, blah. And that's it. Not only is there no sort of announcement of it, but there's also no clear-cut winner to anybody that's watching it either. And it's just been a spectacle, 8 rounds. See you later. Maybe Jake Paul comes out at the end and sets something up. Do you think that's a possibility, the way this is being teed up now? Because I'm thinking 8 rounds, they could probably get through this and make a bit of an entertainment of it, with Floyd not worrying too much. If Floyd really believes that he's got this in his pocket.
You know what? It's hard, isn't it? Because you can't even say that it could end up in a majority draw, which everyone would be astonished and shocked and think, right, we have to have a rematch now. But because there's no judges, somebody has to win. And I think it would be a bit of tit for tat, isn't it? They'll bounce around. I think he'll let Logan do what Conor did to him, and let him have a couple of rounds, and then if he feels like it, he'll just win. I think he'll win by TKO if he wanted to. If it's the same Floyd Mayweather we've seen, I'm still unsure. I know they'll say people he's the GOAT. And I can't. It's age catches up with everybody eventually.
Hey, I remember Ken Shamrock versus Tito Ortiz, and it was the whole young lion versus old lion thing going on and on and on. And age does catch up with you at some point, Chris. There's no doubt about it. Obviously, they always talk about Floyd as being like he's an exception to the rule book. But again, it depends how you measure it, because are we to look at he's not facing a real boxer, and this is why he should easily win. I've seen Floyd Senior do fights, about 4 years ago, and he still looked good. To be honest with you, and he was fighting some rookie in the ring, but he looked pretty decent. So I don't know. I'm going to give my prediction first, Chris, because I don't think it really counts for much, because I have absolutely no idea sometimes about boxing. I was a massive fan back in the 90s, as most people were, when it was quite mainstream. My granddad was a huge boxing fan. He was massive on Nigel Benn, actually. He was really big on him, that whole warrior spirit that he had going into the Eubank fights. But I've got to say, other than that, I'm a casual boxing. That's probably why I'm here now. I'll give my thoughts. I think they're going to go the distance. That's what I'm going to say. I think they'll go the distance, but I have absolutely no idea what Logan Paul's going to be like and what Floyd's going to be like. But I do think it will go the 8 rounds. I'll hand it over to you now, the expert on this one, Chris. What are your predictions? Give us both sides, Chris. What's your heart telling you and what's your brain telling you?
Okay, we'll go heart. So the purest side of me for combat sports is, the guy that watches enough and we have a show on it. I think I've got Floyd in my heart, because I just feel like he's the boxer. Logan Paul's the pretender. Would you say? I know he's fought KSI, but he did blow his gasket in both fights, and I think in the second one, especially looked out like when he was there in the ring that he sort of shut his pants a bit. Like the whole of being in the ring with that many people, I think that really put a lot on him, pressure wise as well. In my head now, I'm gonna throw one at you now. I want Logan Paul to beat Floyd Mayweather. I want.
I'll tell you what, you better lock your doors. You better turn your phone off, because if Stu hears this, I think he's going to be round there.
He'll be banging on my door, yeah, shouting through the letterbox. I heard what you said.
Oh my goodness! Well,
I just think right now, as we speak about age, and it does catch up with you. You mentioned Tito Ortiz and Shamrock. Tito Ortiz in both fights was in complete control of Ken Shamrock, and obviously Ken Shamrock did take some substances to maintain himself. Floyd Mayweather, as far as I can tell, and from what I read into him, that he doesn't. He's pure, and he does train, and he does work.
He trains and eats Burger King every day, I've heard.
Yeah, doesn't put an ounce of weight on. I would love to swap bodies with him if that's the case. I wouldn't mind having a Burger King. I just want the shock. Do you know what? I look at it as being the MMA guy, and I love watching every fighter comes through the post. Let's say Khabib for an example, because he went unbeaten and no one else has gone unbeaten in UFC. It's great and it's amazing to see that, and you want the person to get there. But in the back of your mind, you want that upset, because it just changes the narrative and it gets people talking. This guy beat Khabib, go and say Logan Paul, even though it's probably not the guy you would want him to beat. Floyd Mayweather, you want an actual boxer, and I get where the purists would want that. But what a story this would make in the headlines. And for the both of them, the money they would make if they were making a second one and Logan Paul was one up on him, it would blow the world apart. And I'd love it. I just think it's the fun story to it. Let's take aside the whole series of the boxing, but the story and the element of this YouTuber, when he did something stupid in Japan, had to rebuild himself again, got two big boxing fights against KSI, arguably the biggest YouTuber in the UK, and it's just gone levels and levels and levels. Okay, his brother has gone, I think, extra ever levels above him, but I think it just make a good story. The story would be amazing, like a proper Disney story where this lad who doesn't belong in Floyd Mayweather's ring, let alone tying his shoelaces, beats him. It's like a Rocky story, isn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah, Rocky's story, but Rocky being rich at the time. I mean, maybe they should do a rewrite and have someone like a Logan Paul in it. Not quite off the streets as Rocky was, but
being a
YouTuber, some sort of influencer.
That'd be
but you know what? I mean, if Logan Paul did pull this off, there would probably be a film, to be honest with you. So we shouldn't discount that. But Logan Paul, I mean, again, everybody can say what they want about him, but he's here, he's doing it, and one of the big things that come out, we did Powered4 SB3 this week, and I can't remember who it was, but it was a really good question about whether wrestlers should be getting involved doing independent wrestling. When you look at somebody like Logan Paul, who's just doing one fight and getting paid, close to what 15-18 million we're led to believe in one fight just by having a following. And I guess I got to say, could this be a trend for, like, if you're a boxer out there, Chris, you're an up and coming boxer, before you've made your name, you're under one of these big promoters, you only get the undercard stuff, you kind of get the scraps, you build up for a while, you try and get your reputation, your winning streak or whatever. But do you think some of these guys might look at Logan Paul and think, hang on a minute, maybe I should just, instead of going to the gym every day, maybe I need to get on YouTube, get a personality, a character, and just be an influencer, and then I can rock up to a promoter myself, or maybe even do my own show without needing the middleman. Is this something that you think might catch on to legit boxers that might be looking at this and thinking, like, hang on a minute, I am losing out big time?
Well, YouTube as a whole now, it's a hard place to get views. So
It
if
is.
you were an up and comer, it'd be hard. But again, it's personality on YouTube. If you've got the personality and you've got the panache, haven't you? People will tune in. People will watch. I think if they did, they'd have to give them more of an insight to the training of boxing, the regiment, the eating. I think, really give them a massive insight to what goes into training for a boxing fight. I know we see them on Showtime and HBO and Sky Sports and DAZN, but really give it like a proper in-depth. They could do. I just don't know if the old school lot, and I say old school a lot because they're still early in the 30s, the late 20s. I can't, because I think if anyone would do it, it'd be Tyson Fury, because he's got everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I could see that. Yeah, no, absolutely. And we're going to play a little bit of What If now towards the end of this show, because we're wrapping things up here. But, I mean, coming out the other side, I suppose we can, speculate. But, okay, the prediction happens. What most people believe is Floyd comes out of this as, the winner. But again, it's almost like lose for Floyd, other than he's going to be filthy rich, because even if he comes out of this, people will just be like, well, you was expected to do that. You was expected to knock him out in 60 seconds. I mean, the only way he probably gets over is if his first punch, he knocks Logan down in one punch, then maybe people will give it to Floyd, but that ain't going to happen probably. So, he's going to come out of this, Chris, like whether he wins or loses, like he is almost like for him in the sports side, he can't really win, can he?
No, not really. You're spot on what you say. As you say, people are like, well, you beat a YouTuber. It's not.
Exactly.
I don't think it much come out of it when he beat Conor McGregor, because they're like, well, you beat an MMA fighter. Yes, okay, Conor McGregor was a double champion at the time, but he didn't beat a boxer. He didn't beat a Canelo Alvarez. That's it. You know what I mean? You're beating celebrities, and I think people are purists when it comes to boxing, aren't they? And the likes of, again, Stewart, they want to see the best versus the best. So it's definitely a lose-lose. And the worst thing is, it sets this straight up for Jake Paul. And I think if he thinks he's got it bad with Logan Paul now, he's going to be in hell with Jake Paul. Absolute hell. Because he's a joker, isn't he? And he will push buttons.
Oh my God, I can't imagine the shenanigans that will happen there. That'll be a lot more Conor McGregor style promotion, I would imagine. Because that's the thing, Floyd can't really do much with Logan. Logan doesn't really react to a lot of this stuff. In a lot of ways, Logan looks more mature than Floyd, which isn't a great look for Floyd. But I think it's because he can't dig at him like he could a Conor McGregor. But having said all that, the other side of things, let's just say, for argument's sake, Chris, the upset, what Brett Thomas has been shoving down our throats. I mean, he shoved down my throat that he was going to be at WrestleMania, and we all laughed until 2 weeks before WrestleMania, and he showed up, and it was unbelievable. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt here. If Logan Paul was to win, what does this do to Floyd, and also what impact does that have on boxing?
Well, first and foremost, I don't care what Floyd says. I don't care what he said yesterday. I genuinely feel that he'll be embarrassed, because let's be honest, he's 50 and no. I don't care if it doesn't go on the record. That one's still there, no matter what. And you lost to a YouTuber. You didn't lose to a boxer. You lost to this young kid with lots of money. A pretty boy. That's still going to kill you, no matter what. On the flip side, it's a win-win for Logan Paul, because if he loses, I lost to the best. If he wins, I just beat the best. For boxing,
if he wins, oh my God.
Yeah, like I said on Big Fight Weekly yesterday, the world will explode. But when it comes to boxing,
it will.
I feel like
I
think it's an embarrassment to boxing. I felt like that with Jake Paul and Ben Askren, even though I didn't feel like Ben Askren was the savior of MMA. Believe me, I wasn't in that ring and thinking Ben Askren's doing this for MMA, because I didn't believe that. But Floyd's technically doing it for boxing, isn't he? And beating one of the Paul brothers. So if he did lose it, I think it'd be very embarrassing for boxing. Really embarrassing.
My God. The thing is as well, I know this for a fact, and they stated this yesterday, there's no rematch clause. So if Logan wins, if I was Logan Paul and I win that fight, I hold out for as long as I can. Just keep ripping into Floyd every opportunity I can, making the most of the fame. And I guarantee you he'll be getting a lot more than 15 million next time. He'll probably have to split it for them to try and get his win back, to try and not tarnish his career. And then you could imagine Jake Paul being like, well, I don't need to fight Floyd now. Yeah, my brother beat him. There's no point. I need someone bigger. Just rubbing it in even more.
Yeah, it'd be like
that would be crazy.
I just think it would be, like I said to you, it'd be a massive story. You know what? Sky Sports, I know they're covering the boxing fight on Sunday. That'd be all over Sky Sports News. You can see it now. Logan Paul with whatever belt he'll have at the fight. Maybe he'll beat that one that he.
I forgot to ask about this, Chris, because this was something that come in and like I was quite surprised that Sky themselves took this fight on. Like it wasn't just you know, the app DAZN or whatever. Or I know DAZN and Showtime obviously are not together in any way, but like I was surprised Sky got so involved with this, because on one hand with Eddie Hearn, they're trying to do like go a completely different way, and a lot of those people hate all this. And then on the other, Sky kind of like really putting a lot into this. Like it was all over the news yesterday that I was watching. Like I couldn't get enough of it. Are you surprised that like they've got on board with this now, that like even they see the value in this stuff? And obviously it does blur the lines between what they want, what they don't want. I mean, I don't know what that says to the rest of the boxing they have on there.
Well, first and foremost, I think I got to feel sorry for like Josh Taylor, who became an undisputed champion the other week and didn't even get a look in with Sky. I think I find that disgusting more, because I know he's Scottish, but he's still the UK, and we should be pushing every fighter in the UK when it comes to these big title fights. So I feel sorry that way. But Sky aren't stupid. You know, at the end of the day, it's an entertainment box, isn't it? You know, not, I mean, as in, you know, the actual box itself. They're on it because they know YouTubers, and I think now going forward, they're the money people now. You know what I mean? How many people do you say watch TV and watch a YouTuber? More people are watching a YouTuber, and I think they see it as, well, that's who they're watching. We need to push this because everybody's going to be zoning in on Logan Paul because he's a massive YouTuber. And they're clever in that way.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that will be the case up until a point. Carnage Payne also commenting. Brendan is on comms. I assume you mean Brendan Sharp. He always gets brought in for these things, doesn't he? He loves a bit of this. He'll be all over that.
He owns a bit of Showtime. That's why.
Ah, well, there you go. It makes the perfect sense. I mean, he's transitioned into commentary very well, hasn't he? That guy, since I think he had a wake-up call from Joe Rogan once.
Oh, yeah.
The podcast I watched on him about getting out. And Ramel, a couple comments here just coming in while making... sorry, not that one. Let me bring the one I wanted. Is a Winners Crow Cop Professional. Yep. And well, here in our country, YouTubers are having their own boxing events and nobody's watching. Well, there you go. There's another side of the story as well. It's not, I don't think you can just suddenly put your hand in the air and go, right, I'm a YouTuber, give me a fight. I don't think that's the case. But I think that obviously Logan Paul, KSI, a couple of others out there that have got this crazy following. I think they could put their hand up tomorrow, Chris, and say, I want to be a football player, or I want to be this, and there'd be something. They put on some sort of exhibition soccer match or a NFL game if they really wanted to, because they got the following. I mean, it doesn't just have to be boxing. They've just decided they obviously are fans of boxing, but they could have probably picked anything really.
They could. Like I said to you, I think the lives of TV and actors and celebrities, I think YouTubers are taking control now. And I think people are watching YouTube more than they're watching anything else. And the likes you say of KSI, the Logan Pauls and Jake Pauls, people are so eager. Love or hate them, they're still watching. I think it's crazy. But I mean, I like certain YouTubers, so you know, it's good to see in some way. I know you mentioned about them wanting to do football. Sidemen used to do a YouTube celebrity sort of football match back in the day.
I could see that, yeah.
I know one thing we forgot to mention. You know what's on next week? I don't want to cover it before I bring it up, but it's YouTubers versus TikTok's boxing card. And KSI's
I
brother's
don't
in the
want to
main
go
event.
anywhere near that.
Deji,
Yeah, I don't want to go near.
Deji's headlining that, yeah, and that's obviously KSI's brother. Obviously, who lost to Jake Paul?
Bloody hell. Yeah, I don't particularly want to go down that avenue, Chris, to be honest with you. I'm sure
I'm with you.
Stu certainly wouldn't as well. But no, it's going to be entertaining nonetheless. I think it's going to be you know, whether you agree with it, you don't. I think it's curiosity factor for me, because you know, and to be honest with you, I've said this off camera as well, that the more I've seen of Logan Paul, the more I'm beginning to like the guy. I don't know what's happening, but Brett, you might have influenced me there, because I went down a rabbit hole of watching a lot of his videos yesterday, and yeah, I think a lot of it is persona. I think his brother, he plays that persona 100%, but I think Logan Paul, there's like an off and on switch with him, and I think when you know him a bit better, you can kind of relate to him. I mean, I can relate to Logan Paul probably more than I can Floyd, if I'm honest with you, because Floyd's very hard to like, you know what I mean, given his past. But for you, Chris, have you become, I mean, you must have, surely in the time you've been doing Big Fight Weekly, I can almost see the transition from Logan Paul being a no-no to over the weeks growing on you a bit. Now you've said that, you know, the prediction as well.
I think it's as you know, deciding to do the show, and obviously Brett as well, homing in constantly with Jake Paul and Logan Paul. Yeah, I mean, obviously I knew of Logan Paul through the whole KSI situation, and I didn't like him then. But as you say, the more we researched about today, and the more we go into depth about Logan Paul, and actually finding out who he is, and not judging a book by its cover per se, and actually really getting to know him, you do actually like the guy and think, actually, he's not an arsehole. It's his brother who's the arsehole. And he's actually a really genuine guy. And I feel like all the mistakes he's made previously, you know, he's grown up a lot. And you can see that, especially with the interview with Chu Jordi. I thought he was excellent the whole entire, you know, interview in that, and really showed himself really well. I think I've been swayed. I don't think I'm a purist anymore. I think I'm a dirty casual now.
There you go, you've heard it there. Guys, I want to thank everybody that's chipped in with questions, comments. Really appreciate it. This was like a really sort of active time in YouTube, like 3 o'clock in the UK. So I was like, I don't think we'll get that many people, but I'm surprised how many people before the show had commented and stuff. So really want to thank everybody to contributing, and obviously goes to show the reach this fight has. Also, if I said at the top of the show, coming up immediately after this, we've got the Dark Side of the Ring from True Heel Heat. So go over to their YouTube channel following this show. You'll see the complete review of Grizzly Smith, and it's a dark one, as I said earlier, but you'll want to see it nonetheless. Couple comments before we go, Chris, just to end. We had Lewis Young earlier. He said, Eddie Hall do boxing. What do you think? I mean, why not? I suppose.
He's facing Thor, isn't he? The Mountain from Game of Thrones.
Was he? Okay, well, there you go.
Yes, they're fighting. I think Thor got beaten in an exhibition fight the other week and got dropped. So
right.
Well, yeah, it's probably just like watching the Mountain and versus, you know,
the Viper.
Yeah, I just, you know, I don't.
Or
I
his
don't
brother,
know.
the Hound.
Yeah, it could be like that. I don't know where that goes, because they're two big muscly men who I can't imagine have amazing cardio. But hey, we'll watch it because it's one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And our main man, Brett Thomas, Colin Hart likes Logan Paul. Bloody hell. Is there you go. When the scene that I'll have to check that out. Is that available? Is he spoken about this, Chris?
I haven't actually.
I didn't know he was still about.
No. Maybe he's reserved now because of Logan Paul, Floyd Mayweather. You know what I mean?
Well, there you go. He's probably a secret. Maybe he's a secret YouTube fan of Logan Paul. We didn't know in his later years. And also, Brett, this has been great. Yeah, no worries, Brett. This has been fantastic to do it for you. Thank you very much, Brett, for that. Honestly, it means a lot to us. I've had a blast just talking about it. To be honest with you, it's been very easy hour. I thought I was going to struggle to find things to talk about, but you know what? It has got me very curious and interested to see what happens. I got a feeling, everybody, that over the weekend you're going to see a lot more as well. I would stay glued to whatever they do in the press and the weigh-in. Have they done a weigh-in yet? They haven't, have they? Will that be today?
It'll be Sunday, that will.
Or tomorrow?
No, it'll be Sunday, I reckon, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm sure there'll be some crazy antics. Before we go, Chris, one last thing, prediction. Does Jake Paul show up in any way in during or after the fight? I will say during, just because of the way everything's been stated, but during or after the fight?
No, I think he stays away. I think he'll do this for his brother and, let him carry the flag, per se. I can imagine he might meet Floyd after the fight, though.
Yeah, set something up for the next one. But yeah, I want to thank everybody. Chris, where can we find you, my friend, on all the socials? Obviously, every week we have, of course, with his normal co-host, Stu Palmer, Big Fight Weekly. I'm not sure, when are you guys on next, my friend? Because I know you changed days this week. You was on yesterday, but let us know there, Chris.
I think definitely back on Tuesday. I think Stuart's got the day off, so we're back to our normal slot on Tuesday at 6 p.m. I feel like I might be producing that one as well. Speaking to Rich before, so I'm going to be doing both like you're doing right now.
Job there for you.
Yeah, so I might screw it up. So hey, let's have fun doing that.
Nah, you'll be fine.
We're back on Tuesday at 6 p.m. for everybody. You can find me on Instagram at Vanumate6, Twitter at Vahume, and you can find me on Facebook at Powered4's Big Fight Weekly page. There all the time.
Nice. Thank you very much. Don't forget, guys, if you want more fix of professional wrestling, go check out powered4.tv. Over 25 wrestling promotions, and soon we are actually going to be going into the MMA world as well. We've got at least one promotion coming on board, so we're quite excited about that. And we've always spoke about doing other stuff as well, including boxing. So you never know where that will land. But thank you everybody that's pitched in and commented. I hope everybody enjoys the fight, and obviously we'll see you on the other side. I'm sure whatever happens, Chris, that Big Fight Weekly will be flooded with the outcome, regardless of what it is. I tell you what, if you're producing Tuesday and Logan Paul wins, God help you.
Oh yeah, that's going to be fun for a first timer, that isn't it?
My goodness, yeah, that's going to be crazy. But no, thank you very much, Chris, for taking time out to talk with us as well. Give us your expertise. Like I said, I needed Chris here because I am clueless when it comes to boxing. But I thought with all the shenanigans, I could bring the wrestling element to it at least. And obviously, we know it's been a big talking point. Thank you to everybody that's commented. As I said before, thank you very much, Brett, especially this one dedicated to you, my friend. And we'll see you next time.
See you next week.